That placket at the bottom of a sleeve where it goes into the cuff, that's what I'm going to show you today. It's called a continuous lap placket. Let me show you how it's done. This light purple plaid is like the bottom of your sleeve, and this 1 1/4 inch wide strip is going to be the placket itself. And you see I've noted here that this is the right side of the sleeve. What I've done is I've just stay stitched with a regular stitch length coming across one stitch at the very dot and then back down. You will have found those indications on your pattern piece. But you're going to do it this way regardless of the directions that the pattern tells you, because this way is better and easier, I promise. I cut the continuous lap placket 1 1/4 inches wide and longer than the pattern piece that they may have given you in the pattern. You want it to be at least twice as long as what your V is. Do you see how much longer that is? All right, and again, 1 1/4 inches wide. We're so accustomed to putting right sides together, but you do the opposite with this technique. I'm going to take the right side of the continuous lap and I'm going to put it on the wrong side of the sleeve. All right, I'm going to leave a little bit extra there, and I'm just going to stitch this together, and you'll see when we zoom in here on the sewing machine how it's going to work. I can get these edges matching up here, but down here at the point it's really going to look more like that. And I'm going to be going just 1 needle's width to the left of this original stay stitching. I backstitch to start, and you note that I've left some extra length of that continuous lap placket back here. Please be sure to cut it at least 2 inches longer than this is. So I'm going to match these edges for as far as I can, and here's where a needle down comes in really handy to hold things in position as you manipulate your fabric. At this point, this edge cannot be right flush with this edge, so I'm just going to have to let it V out, and I'm going to come right to the dot. Now I straighten out this edge, and did you note that I had to raise my presser foot to get this situated to do the second half? So do you see right here, this cannot match this. And I'm stitching just a needle's width to the left of my original stitching. You see again, I've got extra left over. The next step then is to press the seam allowance towards the band and the band in to meet that edge. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. So I've done my pressing. I pressed the seam allowance towards the band, and I pressed the edge of the band in to meet that raw edge. Now it's going to come over, and I want to cover up my stitching. I don't find using pins in a situation like this accomplishes anything. Rather, it's just all in the fingers. And where you're stitching is the right side of the garment, and I'm stitching very, very close to the edge. One other thing here, let me just mention this. I had used a disappearing marker to mark the point. I should have taken water and got that out before I pressed. It's a very dangerous thing to do, to press over a disappearing marker, because in all likelihood I have set that mark in there, and that would not be a good thing. So do you see I've covered the first stitching with the edge, with the folded edge, and now I can just cut the excess off. I always say that I never sit down to sew, but that I don't have to rip, and this is proof. Do you see right here I got a little bit too far to the left, and I'll need to rip out from like here to here and restitch it. That's just part of sewing, part of life. Okay, the next step is to fold this in half, and now what I'm going to do is to stitch at an angle like this, from lower on the lap right up to this corner. I have tack on this machine, which I am really falling in love with, where it just stitches in place. All right, so there I have the continuous lap placket. Now I can tell you, If this is the shorter part of the sleeve and this is the longer, this is the underarm seam, that it's the longer edge that will turn back. So at this point in time, I would just go ahead and do that. That way when it comes time to put on the cuff, I've already got that figured out. There is my finished continuous lap placket. I would just need to repress here. So here then is our finished continuous lap placket. As I have been editing videos, it's become clear to me that I have one word I use over and over and over again, that word being so. I apologize. I'm going to try my hardest not to keep using my favorite word, but it is so. That's how easy a continuous lap placket is. Give it a try. I'm sure you're going to like it. My mission is to share all I know about sewing here on my channel so that you can come to love sewing just as much as I do.